approve minutes of April 22nd, 2025.
You know what? I move we approve them, but I have one amendment and I didn't bring my computer with me, so I don't have it all. Do you have a copy of the minutes?
time I didn't bring a copy of them.
Oh, you don't? Okay. But I think I sent it to you, didn't I?
I don't think you sent me one that's soon.
Oh. Well, I move we approve it with my amendment, but I can't tell you what it is. Oh, I second, sorry,
All in favor?
with only two people, I have to move and second.
Discussion of the new cannabis establishment on Green Street.
So I put that on the agenda because I learned on, when did you call me, Thursday, a week ago? No, Thursday before that. I worked within the last 2 weeks that, Chris Roos had sold, half the farm, part of Mark's Road is. And that the new owner, Daniel Tell, who is with us tonight, is interested in also growing cannabis. And I thought that we ought to make people in the town aware of it, that it was something that should be discussed in a public meeting. I think that Daniel is prepared to talk about what his plans are. And he had originally scheduled a community outreach meeting for May 9th. And then we realized that it was, he had given 2 weeks notice, he only gave 1 week notice, so we rescheduled it for Thursday, May 22nd. But he came all the way from Michigan to be here on Friday, May 9th. Because he didn't want any of the others who had been invited by a letter to show up and not have anyone. I thought that was good. So, I'm gonna be quiet and let him talk about what his plans, if I may.
Absolutely. So I'm Daniel Tell. I purchased the property at 27 Broom Street. My intent is to do an outdoor cultivation, very similar to what they do across the street. We'll be washing all of the cannabis into hash rosin at the end of the year. And we have no intention of knocking down the historical house that's on the property. So, we're gonna be farming in ground, very similar to how, you grow a tomato plant. So it's a pretty basic operation. I have experience in Michigan where I have other outdoor cultivation, but looking to move here to Massachusetts and start doing it.
Questions?
And let's tear down the house business, things sit there unoccupied without anybody living.
So what my plan is to first rehab the addition to it because it needs a little bit less work. The new, if you're looking at the house, the part to the right, that looks like it needs a little bit less work than the main house.
Oh, I've heard that.
Yeah, my goal is to get the roof to a state that it doesn't further deteriorate because a tree fell through the roof. So patching up that hole and getting it to a state where it's not going to keep going downhill too fast. And then with time, I would love to bring it back up to its original character.
Cultivation stuff, our stuff was.
You need to do that to be able to afford for it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Is it medical or is it purely like recreation?
recreation.
Wow, thank you. I trust this requires a special permit.
It does.
Okay, what's the status of that process?
So a community host meeting is, or community outreach meeting, sorry, is happening on the 22nd. After that, I will schedule a special land use permit with the planning.
Well, actually, the whole process, Bob, it begins with, community outreach. Then before it can go to planning board, we have to have, a community host agreement, which is negotiated between the select board and Dave. And, then the next step from there is to apply for the special permit. And the planning board will schedule that. And there's a site review, there's a site plan review, there's lots of conversation that goes on.
Public hearing.
What?
In the public hearing. In the public hearing.
That, actually, in a public meeting, in a select board meeting. Once we've gotten to the point of agreeing that we want to hold the public hearing, then we hold the public hearing and we do all of that again. But there's a lot of work that the planning board does in making sure that it's something that isn't going to be wasting the public's time in a hearing, because the hearing is a little bit more formal, more people come and it has to be promoted farther in advance. They try to do their homework beforehand and really understand the project and go out and walk the property and that kind of thing. And then there will be a public hearing and the whole town will be invited. And at that point, Daniel can then submit his application for cannabis licensing to the Cannabis Commission. So, and once then it's in their hands, and when and if they issue the certification, then he's off and running. He can plant his plants and move forward.
What time and where is the meeting on the 27th?
7 p.m.
Is that on, that's on the town calendar, isn't it? So it's already been posted on the town calendar. And and it's already been posted on the bulletin boards as well, at town hall and at the town buses. We did that last Thursday, which was exactly 2 weeks before.
Any other questions?
I have a quick comment.
Yeah.
Chris Roos from 28 Broom Street, former owner of the property over there. I've been operating a cannabis company for 6 years up here. Originally started the process somewhere in the 9 or 10 years ago, with a different kind of lead of the town at that point. I have applied to do exactly what Daniel's asking to do on that side of the street twice already and have been denied both times.
Were you current on your taxes at that point?
Yes, beyond current. I think realistically, half the reason that I got put into this issue with the taxes is due to the fact that we were, both denied the first time 8 years ago when I tried to put my field there, and then at the same time simultaneously denied, 2 years ago when we tried to lease it to another company that went through the process with the town and was denied.
It's for the town to decide, so.
Yeah, no, I'm just here saying on record, I don't necessarily have a problem with cannabis being grown on the property. It seems as though Daniel's an experienced operator, and if there was somebody to be doing it there, it probably would be beneficial to be an experienced operator. Having said that, I've lost millions of dollars, realistically. I know the number, probably I'd have to do a lot more digging into it, but it's millions of dollars at this point. There's a laundry list of reasons why the numbers kind of came to where they are. And I'm not sure. I realistically, would have loved to have never had to sell that property.
Do you know why the town denied or who denied the certification or the?
So the first time I was told by the ZBA, was that before the planning board.
Yeah, that's
No
before they
special
can't, that
permit.
was, yeah.
That was too close to the neighbors. And I had to go spend, a substantial amount of money to move the entire plan to the other side of the street. I had to clear cut forest because we weren't allowed to do it in a pasture field. I think that substantially hurt crop production for the first couple of years, due to taking a field straight out of forest and putting it into production. It's typically not what you do when you farm. You would take a pastured field, so our whole plan was to do this, but we weren't allowed to. So
And what about the second time?
the second time we were leasing, we had a signed lease with the first outdoor farm in the state was gonna come into town. And then that was denied by the plan. Brian Hawthorne.
I didn't know about either of those situations. But I suspect that some of the neighbor resistance had to do with the person who lived next door at that point in time.
Yeah, I would imagine so, yeah, I guess. Just doesn't necessarily seem right that I had to, lose out on all the money and the opportunity to do our original plan over there and.
That's part of business. I mean,
No,
It's a risk.
I'm not, yeah, no, it's
but
definitely a
the
risk.
times have also changed and things have changed throughout the years that since this stuff started until now, there's different stuff going
Well,
on,
and
different people,
the state
have
rules
changed,
changed.
so. I mean, it's up to,
I'm just here to. Just kind of wanted to learn more, given my opinion on it, and like I said,
but it's still up for the zoning and planning to approve it anyway, so.
yeah, I'm just here, just wanted to just kind of put on record that it's us being allowed to be there was substantial impact. The longevity and the success of our business, it's candidly creeping forward at this point now, but it took us a long time to kind of get over those first few hiccups. I mean, the cancel that lease is the reason I'm in the position I am with the taxes, like no questions asked. It's like I have a contract that's been canceled from the other operator. Like I said, they were the first outdoor farm in the state, so there's realistically no reason they should have ever been denied there. They were the most experienced ones in the state at that point.
You sure it was the planning board and not the cannabis commission?
100%. No questions
You
asked.
know what year it was?
I have to look it up, it's about 2 years ago.
Because Brian hasn't been the chair of the planning board for 2 years.
Yeah, probably bet this about 2 years ago.
Well, I was on the planning board, I don't ever remember discussing this.
Well, either way,
Sorry, that's why I'm confused.
are you planning on growing this year?
Yeah.
Well, you're still behind.
Yeah, working as hard as I can. I think Heather's been relatively happy with the progress we've made on everything.
Right.
And still working as diligently as I can. And again, just want to say that having changed the plan 2 years ago, I think has led to this point substantially hurt us. And again, that is the course of doing business. I'm totally well aware of that. And what happens, happens, but again, just wanted to come in, because again, I kind of assumed with the new leadership in the town, you may in fact not have been aware of the previous
Right.
times. But this will be the third time that's side of the road's been attempted to grow cannabis on. I was denied twice there already.
Well, I guess we'll have to see.
Any other questions? Thank you, thanks, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. So just to be clear, after the community host or
Outreach.
the outreach meeting, would I be able to then schedule the negotiation for the host agreement?
Well, we're still trying to understand, the Cannabis Commission's rules. And I got, a tome of memos from our, town council over the weekend that I need to come up to speed on because, they have changed so many times. We want to make sure that we are fully informed before we go into that. So I don't think we're likely to want to do that before the end of the fiscal year, certainly, because there's a number of other items on this agenda here that relate to that. We have to have another special town meeting. And so
When you say end of the fiscal year,
June 30th.
June 30th.
June 30th is when our fiscal year, we're July 1, June 30. Well, the state, all the towns are, right?
Yeah.
I think the state mandated that all the municipalities had to be July 1 to June 30, and then that's so that they can certify our accounting in the fall. It's
Just looking at July, more than likely.
July or August.
August.
Yeah, I mean, I have to warn you, we only meet, typically, we haven't
Twice
always
a month.
discussed this, but in the summer, we've been meeting once a month in
Yeah.
July and August.
In Michigan, they allow us to pay for special meetings. Is that the case here as well?
I don't think so.
I don't think you have to pay.
Well,
But we
just
can get
for
her,
the pays for your time to come for a special meeting then.
right, no, we just gotta
Yeah, you
plan
could
it
double
so.
our salary.
You just gotta plan one so many weeks
Yeah.
out, so you can post it and
Mhm.
the public knows and all that stuff.
We will do our best, but as I said, we need to feel comfortable that we understand the rules.
Okay,
And I mean, I've never been through negotiating a host community agreement before. I mean, Chris's was negotiated with an entirely different select board, so we sort of inherited that one. And then we learned after that was done that the Cannabis Commission had changed all of the rules. And so there were a lot of things in there that were invalid, and we're still trying to understand, you know, what the town has to do to make sure that they are not, that they haven't violated a rule, nor have they committed to do something that they didn't realize they were committing to do.
got it. Okay,
Yeah, just gotta get it in order and, you know,
yeah, keep pushing it forward.
keep going forward.
Touch.
Yes.
I know you are eager.
Yeah, well, I have a whole year, you know, so we're gonna, take it as it goes, but. Okay, I just wanted to get a better idea of the timeline.
Yeah,
Could I ask one more question? Is your like motive to move to Plainfield mostly for this business venture, or
Yes.
do you have ties to?
No, it's for the business venture.
Okay, so you didn't really know about Plainfield prior to,
No.
Okay. thanks.
how'd you find out about us?
Well, looking at all the different municipalities that allow cannabis cultivation outdoors, there's a small list. And the list is even smaller for properties that are for sale that meet the zoning requirements. And this one met the requirements, and also seeing the farm across the street, more appealing. Mhm.
Okay. And then Nathan.
Holly, 11 Windsor Ave. Wondering if you've talked to your neighbor yet? Before you, no, I don't mean this neighbor.
This one?
Oh, are you the neighbor that?
He's Nathan.
Yeah, but no,
Nathan Wilbridge.
no, the neighbor who I thought was against this.
He moved.
He's.
The Wilbridge bought his house,
Yeah.
Matt Shippey.
Luckily,
Good to see.
I think Nathan wanted to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanna say that, Matt Shapey's not there. And he was obviously very opposed. We're not entirely opposed to him doing what he wants on his property. But it is still very close to the property line and. We have to look at it, but. I mean, really, if it goes through. With the board, then, and then all the other committees. Maybe we just have to make a deal.
you can walk it and you tell me how far off the line you want it to be. Yeah, there's plenty of
Like
space.
what kind of fence we're looking at and
Yeah,
kind of what's going on there.
yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Bob?
All that information should be provided with a site plan.
Correct.
For the planning board to perform a site plan review. Okay, so this isn't your last shot.
Yeah, yeah. I'm proud of my kids for coming to a meeting they've never been to, so I'm happy to.
It's not that.
This is not a quick process, and nobody is going to be denied opportunities to weigh in with their opinion. I can assure you of that. I've sat through enough of these meetings, not the select board meetings, I mean, planning board meetings, to know that they go on and on and on in terms of figuring out how we're gonna meet the needs of everybody, or not be able to, or if we can't, why not, and what kind of changes could be made that might make it work for everybody. So you'll have lots of opportunities.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
You guys don't have to say if you don't want, to. You're welcome to if you want to, but you don't have to, so don't feel guilty at all if you get up.
Discussion and scheduling of special town meeting before the end of the fiscal year.
Okay. I have a little list
Okay.
of possible or some of them are necessary, others have been suggested by other people in town. Articles that would need to be on a warrant. We need to create a warrant to, authorize a police revolving fund, which was something we've been discussing all spring. As happened at the, annual town meeting, we were not able to create a capital planning committee there. We have to. Oh, I think we have to have a separate warrant for that, and we didn't have a separate warrant for it. It was sort of bundled in with create all the committees and kind of thing. It was suggested to me by our moderator that he thought, with the very specific exception for stabilization funds and moving them, he thought it would be expeditious for the town to approve a new town bylaw that allows all town meeting votes to be a simple majority instead of requiring some things require 2/3, some things are a simple majority. The moving money out of a stabilization fund is by statute. You're shaking your head, Sandy.
Oh, it's just my opinion. I'm not saying anything.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought I had gotten something wrong and you knew I was saying something wrong.
No.
Okay. And then, I did ask the lawyer about a bylaw prohibiting, retail cannabis in town, because that's the only, well, other than Matthew Shippey, that's the only consistent complaint I've heard from people in town. I don't think people in town are anti-cannabis. I think we kind of don't really understand why it isn't an agricultural product. But they don't want retail here, and the only way that that can be accomplished is if you have a town bylaw that says so. You can't do it in a host community agreement, is what I'm saying. And then somehow it fell through the crack. I'm not assigning blame, it just did. We did not put in an article for the transfer of $5,000 from free cash to the police stabilization funds, which is what we committed to do last year.
Right.
So we need to go back and clean that one up. Those are the things I know of right now. But Paula and I think Ben, I'm not sure how Ben felt about it, but Paula has requested that we do it as late in June as we possibly could. Because that way that gives her a little bit more time to clean up or close out all of the town accounts. So we know if there are any other special money movements that we have to make. And then we can do it all at once, and whereas if we do it in 2 weeks or whatever, something might come up in the month of June that would cause us to do it again, and trying to conserve time. So I have a proposed schedule that I think works well. If we scheduled the special town meeting for June 25th. And then we would have to post the warrant for that town meeting on June 11th. And by merest chance, we have a select board meeting on June 10th.
Okay.
So we could sign the warrant the night before, it could get posted on June 11th, it would be legal. We can publicize it, whatever. But I haven't checked with Ruth, and obviously she has to be included because
Right.
she has to be there. So, so that was all I just wanted to get it on all of our radar that there were these dangling threads that needed to be tied up. And these are the ones that I know of. If other people know of others, please let me know. And, we will start working on the warrant articles for the ones that we know about. And there you have it. That's what that agenda item was.
Any questions?
Has to do that.
Oh,
Just for clarification, so you're not actually preparing the warrant for constable signature tonight?
no,
You're just bringing it to everybody's
just
attention?
so people know that it's gonna happen in June.
Okay.
Getting the word out if there are other if there are other things that people wanted to have happen that they didn't realize had to be done in an annual town meeting, that didn't get included in our annual town meeting, this would be the next opportunity. I think there may well be some discussion about buildings committee, but I'm not sure about that. And without Peter here, he would be the one to know, but somebody told me they thought there was gonna be an
I know
article
this
about
topic.
buildings.
But what's really wrong is that.
What?
Core form. Yeah, call form. Don't bring too much of it.
No, there was distilled water on the table.
Great.
I don't know, there was a jug of water.
Oh, good.
Sorry to interrupt, Paul, I thought she was going toward death and I was just trying to.
You know, there's a big sign that says not potable water.
I wasn't sure if she. That is coming down or not.
All right, any other questions? On that?
No. Next, the resolution of the Bow Street property lawsuit and subsequent sale of property.
Okay, I'm surprised that Jack isn't here.
Well, whatever was happening before, that's getting close as far as court goes.
Yes, so I spoke with, Mike Vertenzio at KP Law last week. And he and I can't remember the other guy's name that was working with him on it. Mike's the only one I've been working with. He and his partner, recommend, closing or allowing the court to close out the case that was previously filed against the owners of the previous owners of Bow Street. That hearing was supposed to be today. He was going to tell them that we were discussing it tonight. And they will either have continued that or they will have come up with some solution. And they're recommending that we close that out because he has moved out of state and we no longer have a claim against him. Now, there is a section of, I think it's chapter 30, if I remember correctly, Jack Nelson sent it to me and the Department of Environmental Protection circuit rider had provided it to him, which says that if somebody acquires a property that has any outstanding judgment against it, that it becomes their responsibility and they have to do it within 3 years, but in order to enforce that, we would have to sue him. So we would have to initiate another lawsuit and the lawyers, and I agree with them, and this is what you and I need to probably vote on. That we're recommending that we not sue him, that instead they draft a sternly worded lawyerly legal letter. Advising him that he is responsible for this. And precisely what the zoning law says and what the state wetlands protection law says, what the federal wetlands law says, but the bottom line is. As I understand it, within the footprint of the existing building is grandfathered, within that footprint. They can make all the improvements and renovations they want inside. The house, the barn does not have a well, so they would have to drill a well. And I'm not 100% certain that that's okay, but the lawyer said he thought it probably was.
Right.
But he was gonna check on that. And, they do not have a septic system. But Brian Hawthorne suggested that they could get a tight tank and locate it somewhere close to Bow Street. And it's an expensive solution, but
Right.
it would work. You just have to have it pumped out every month or two, whatever.
Well, he's been talking to the building inspector and
Yeah,
they, I guess, got an engineer, so.
Yeah.
To try to map it out to see if it's gonna work, so. Before they do anything, so.
and he, I mean, the lawyerly letter will also let him know that because of the location of the building. Don't think they're gonna have a lovely room garden and landscaping.
Or there ain't no plan.
You basically cannot disturb the land at all. So I just thought that because this has been an ongoing issue for how many years now?
Too
And,
many,
yeah, and it came to a head recently,
didn't cost us way too much money.
indeed. I was appreciative that our lawyers were trying to save us money. But, I just thought I ought to let everybody know what's going on with Bow Street, because every now and then I get questions.
Any questions? Okay,
Oh, I move that we vote to close the lawsuit against the previous owner of
motion.
Zero Bow Street.
Seven.
A seven? No, I think there's
Seven.
seven, this, oh,
Seven
it
motion.
doesn't show up on any map, it's so stupid.
It'd be,
Because-
yeah, seven motion.
Anyway. So I move that we, vote to, close out that lawsuit, and I second that motion.
All in favor?
I,
Discussion of authorization of the payment for work performed outside of the highway supervisor's regular session. So Mark, well, highway superintendent is on salary. We had agreed to not give him comp time, but since this winter was wintry. It's way more time than comp time. I mean, you wouldn't see him for 3 months. So we decided, pay him. We're gonna do it in 3 payments. And then he's gonna get switched to hourly, so next year we won't have to do this.
and the other thing I think is important is that Paula and Ben Gale told us that because he's running, I think this is part of the reason his hours were so high too, is because he's been running with one less member of his crew than he's had in the past. So, but as a result, what was budgeted last year, there was a 3-person crew
Yes,
before, and now it's 2-person plus superintendent.
right.
So because of that, there is enough money within the highway department's salary budget to cover the expense that would be incurred by buying him out of the extra hours they put in. And so I move that we vote to approve that. So sorry,
I'm just wondering how much is the amount of money?
I don't have the exact number in my head. It's around $30,000.
It's 500 or something.
Right, that's, you know.
$32.
32,000. It's.
I think it is. If that's a printout of the email.
We have a question from Vanilla.
Oh, I Leela.
Hey, I can't hear you all very well. Are you saying 3,200 or are you saying 32,000? Wait, say it again. It's for some reason I just can't hear it very well.
32,000.
Can you see it?
Nope, I can't see it, but I think I just heard Ben say 32,000. So 32,000 additional dollars to the road boss.
Yes, for overtime, it's
70 something.
37 hours. Yes, but in his contract, or in his contract assigned, it was, any extra was comp time. And we either decide to pay him or not see him for 3 months. And he's been doing a good job and getting our town back up to snuff, so if he leaves for 3 months. Nothing gets done, so.
My comment was not because I was
Yeah.
against or anything else. I think he's been doing a great job. And I think we're lucky to have him. I was just questioning and,
That
I'm
was-
usually on salary,
So
but it's okay.
Yeah.
I just was
the history
wondering.
there is that, most of the, well, I asked Ben Gill because he works for 4 other small towns very similar to ours. In each of those towns, their highway superintendent was on salary. that's just sort of one data point from the current moment. When Walter was still here, he went to the select board, the previous select board, and asked them, you know, do you wanna put me on salary? You're paying me so much in overtime, it would probably be cheaper to put me on, make me a salaried employee. So they said, sure, and so they made him a salaried employee. So when we had Mark coming in, that had worked well for the town. And I think the winters, there were a few milder winters there. And so he agreed to it. We had a long back and forth negotiation and a memo of understanding. It wasn't actually a written employment contract, but in any case, but then this winter whacked him. I mean, not just because of snow and plowing, but also all the tree work that had to be done. And the windstorms and he was down a person, and he was the one that picked up most of that slack for being down. So we rethought it and we think that it will be better for everybody if we simply make him hourly and.
It was recommended from Paula and Ben.
Yeah,
That it would never accrue again, so like that week, you put 2 extra hours, got paid that instead of building up and then we're dishing out a huge pile.
so I moved that,
May I ask you?
oh, so, sorry.
Does that mean he'll be getting overtime if he goes to hourly?
Yes,
Yeah. Cause in his original contract, it's salary plus comp time. So whatever extra he worked got banked as comp
it
time.
actually wasn't
Well,
complex.
it's whatever.
It was flexible hours.
Flexible hours, so we can take it off, but he got too many hours, so that doesn't work. So. This is a resolution to pay him hourly and it'll be good.
So,
I think it just, Chris from Broom Street again, I think. Broom Street leaves a lot to be desired in terms of like the road shape down there, but I think generally across town, I'm super impressed with the job he does around here. I tell my friends back home in the valley how good the roads are cleared up here and how much more it snows and how good they clear the roads and, you know, dig us when trees are down, so.
Right.
I think it's worth it.
Yeah. Any other questions? Yep.
I move that we approve the one-time,
It's a 3-time payment.
no, I was gonna say, the one-time buyout of the superintendent of the highway department's hours outside of his regularly scheduled hours, and that payment be made, or that buyout be made in 3 separate payments. So I second the motion.
All in favor?
I,
Well, always favor one, the bill from KP Law for $146.68.
that one's easy. I move we pay the bill from KP Law, and I second it.
All in favor?
Wait, we can ask if there are questions.
All other questions?
I think you have to have a motion on the floor before you take questions. Anyway, all in favor, aye.
Email from Robert Melstrom expressing interest in being appointed to the Buildings Committee. Are you ready to be on the Buildings Committee?
You should have asked me when I wrote the email.
No, well, we're here talking about it, so.
Yes, yes.
And on there.
Ready to go.
Oh, I move that we appoint, Robert Maelstrom.
Maybe a, appointment by the, moderator. I'm waiting.
Thanks.
Well, I can tell you, I have the town list right here. Yes, he has to be. There are 3 people on the buildings committee appointed by the moderator. 1 person appointed by the select board. That spot is currently filled by Catherine Jensen, and her term does not, her term expires this year, but at the end of this year.
Right.
And then one by the finance committee. So I guess we don't have to vote on it, we just have to tell Brian to please appoint Bob Melstrom to the buildings committee. So we'll do that.
So we'll tell Brian Hawthorne to appoint you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then Ruth will have to swear you in.
Oh, and
Always my pleasure.
then
Swear at you.
try to get the buildings committee here to discuss about the fire escape. I called Russ from AccuFab last year about this time to come look at it. It is repairable. Supposedly Peter's supposed to give him some information. It hasn't happened yet, and I think it's a very highly safety issue and something that needs to get done. And I'm gonna push it, and it needs to happen. Peter got a quote of $148,000 to get some covered, built fire escape. I think we could probably get it fixed without meeting all the new codes, because we're not gonna dismantle the whole thing for probably 20 or 25. And I recommend that's what needs to happen, but I was hoping Peter would be here and we could try to get this resolved. Cause I know Claude had AccuFab come about 5 years ago to look at it. Nothing's happened since then either, so we need to be able to use the building. So. Once you're appointed, Bob, you can grind that in there.
Duly noted, yes.
We'll make it so more things can happen around here, and instead of just meeting here, we can meet upstairs, or stuff can happen here. Especially since they put a whole bunch of work in upstairs, and you can't even use it.
May I say something?
Yeah, Polly?
Holly from 11 Windsor Ave. I just wanted to say that the Council on Aging uses this building sort of as their senior center. We do a lot of events here. And for us, it's very important to have that fire escape. It's also very important for us to have potable water. It's really hard to have a luncheon without that. And that's another issue that has been sort of neglected for quite some time now. I was told that somebody just has to clean out the spring in order for there to be potable water. And it could be that there is some now. If we get the water retested, it could be
It's
clean
rained,
at the moment.
it's rained a lot, so maybe it flushed it out, but
Usually it removes.
And we could consider drilling a well. Another job for the building committee.
I think you need to attend the next buildings committee meeting.
what, that's the other thing. I've also heard that the buildings committee hasn't meeting very often, but how do you decide stuff if you don't have a meeting? I mean, it's kind of hard. So, that's it for me. Any other questions? Any other issues, complaints?
Business for us to consider.
Right.
I move we adjourn. I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay.